In the early hours of November 29th, 1981, the world woke up to a tragedy that would never fully make sense. The body of Natalie Wood was found floating in the waters near Catalina Island, not far from the yacht she had been on the night before. She was dressed lightly, unprepared for the cold, and surrounded by questions no one could clearly answer. At first glance, it seemed like a terrible accident. But as details slowly emerged, the story began to feel incomplete. There were inconsistencies, missing hours, and unexplained injuries that raised quiet doubts. For many, this was no longer just a heartbreaking loss. It became one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries. A beloved actress, known for her grace and emotional depth, had died under circumstances that felt too unclear, too unresolved to be easily accepted. The image the world fell in love with before that tragic night, Natalie Wood was one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Audiences first fell in love with her as a child, drawn to her natural charm and emotional sincerity. As she grew, she transformed into a leading actress whose performances carried both beauty and vulnerability. Films like West Side Story and Rebel Without a Cause made her a cultural icon, placing her among the most admired actresses of her time. On screen, she often portrayed characters filled with longing, love, and quiet strength. She seemed effortless, almost ethereal. Yet even in her most radiant moments, there was something deeper in her eyes, something reflective, perhaps even fragile. While the world saw perfection, few understood the pressure and emotional weight she carried behind the scenes. A childhood without a choice. Natalie's journey into fame began long before she could understand it. Pushed into acting at a very young age, her life quickly became centered around auditions, film sets, and expectations. While other children experienced a carefree upbringing, hers was shaped by discipline and ambition. She learned early how to perform, how to meet expectations, and how to remain composed under pressure. But in that process, something important was lost: her sense of choice. Acting was not something she discovered. It was something decided for her. Over time, this created a quiet internal conflict. She became skilled at presenting emotions on screen, yet in her personal life, expressing her own feelings became far more complicated. The line between performance and reality slowly began to blur. Fear that never left her. One of the most defining aspects of Natalie's life was her deep fear of water. It stemmed from a traumatic incident during her childhood while filming a scene that went wrong. The experience left her shaken and created a lasting anxiety that followed her into adulthood. Those close to her knew how serious this fear was. She avoided water whenever possible and felt deeply uncomfortable around it, especially at night. This detail later became one of the most puzzling aspects of her death. How could someone with such a fear willingly leave a boat alone in the dark? This question has lingered for decades, adding another layer to an already complex story. It wasn't just a small inconsistency, it felt like a key piece of a puzzle that never quite fit. Fame, pressure, and silent struggles. As Natalie transitioned from a child star to an adult actress, the pressure only intensified. Hollywood expected her to evolve while still maintaining the image people loved. She succeeded professionally, earning critical acclaim and recognition, but the emotional toll grew heavier. Behind the success were moments of exhaustion, self-doubt, and loneliness. She lived in a world where appearance mattered more than authenticity, and where vulnerability was often hidden rather than supported. Over time, she became someone who carried her struggles quietly. Even as she achieved major milestones, there was a sense that she was constantly trying to keep everything together. Her performances became deeper, more emotional, perhaps because they reflected parts of herself she couldn't express elsewhere. Love that was beautiful, yet complicated. Natalie's personal life, particularly her relationships, reflected the same complexity seen in her inner world. Her marriage to actor Robert Wagner was often described as a fairy tale from the outside. They were admired, photographed, and celebrated as a perfect couple. But like many things in her life, the reality was more layered. There were moments of happiness, but also periods of tension, misunderstanding, and emotional distance. They separated, reunited, and tried again, hoping to rebuild what once felt right. Their relationship carried both love and unresolved issues, making it difficult to fully understand from the outside. It was not simply a story of romance. It was a reflection of two people navigating their own struggles while trying to stay connected. The final weekend. The days leading up to Natalie's death were meant to be peaceful. She joined her husband and a close colleague on a yacht trip, hoping for a break from work and stress. But according to later accounts, the atmosphere was not entirely calm. There were moments of tension, fueled by alcohol and underlying emotions that may have been building for some time. What exactly happened that night remains unclear. Different versions of events were shared, and over time, some details changed. What is known is that Natalie was last seen aboard the yacht, and at some point during the night, she disappeared. Hours passed before help was called, and those missing hours became one of the most questioned aspects of the case. Questions without clear answers. When Natalie's body was discovered, the official explanation pointed toward accidental drowning. However, certain details complicated that conclusion. There were physical marks that raised questions, as well as the circumstances surrounding how and when she entered the water. Witness accounts from nearby boats later suggested they may have heard cries for help, though nothing was confirmed with certainty. Over the years, the case was revisited and new perspectives emerged. Authorities eventually acknowledged that the situation could not be fully explained as a simple accident. Despite this, no definitive conclusion has ever been reached. The lack of clear answers has kept the story alive, leaving people to wonder what truly happened during those final hours. A legacy beyond the mystery. While the mystery of her death continues to draw attention, Natalie Wood's legacy goes far beyond that single event. She remains one of the most respected actresses of her generation, remembered for her emotional depth and timeless performances. Her work continues to resonate with audiences, reminding people of her talent and presence. At the same time, her story has sparked important conversations about the pressures of fame, the treatment of young actors, and the importance of emotional well-being. She's remembered not just as a star, but as a human being who experienced both extraordinary success and profound challenges. Remembering the person behind the star. In the end, Natalie Wood's story is not only about mystery, it is about a life lived in contrast. She existed between light and shadow, between admiration and vulnerability, between public image and private reality. Her journey reflects the complexities of being seen by the world while still feeling unseen within. Though the truth about her final night may never be fully known, her impact remains undeniable. She continues to be remembered not just for how her story ended, but for everything she brought to the screen and the emotion she shared with the world. And perhaps that is where her story finds its most meaningful closure. Not in answers, but in remembrance.